Last week, in Book 1, Canto 1, Page 1, what did we see? Well, we saw this darkness before creation. And this darkness did not want any light. It was a darkness so vast that it refused the light.
Page 2. We saw page 1.
So we saw that Earth was like a shadow, just spinning through this emptiness. And it forgot what her spirit and her fate was. But then something stirs in the darkness. It's a nameless movement, has no name at all. It's even an unthought idea. But it does stir. And now we have to go to page 2, in which we see that something is insistent, dissatisfied, without an aim. Something that wished but knew not how to be. So there is something here, and we're going to find out more about what it is. Teased the inconscient to wake ignorance. And Sri Aurobindo tells us in his letters on yoga that the inconscient itself is only an involved state of consciousness, like the Tao or Shunya, though in a different way. It contains everything suppressed in it, so that under a pressure from above or from within, all can evolve out of it. We found out last week that the inconscient is the last resort of the ignorance. We can say that it is at the lowest level, but it is not actually totally inconscient, because it's like a sleep. And the divine is in everything. So how can he not be in the inconscient? It's just that from this height, where he was everything and he was nothing, and he was more than everything and nothing, he begins to limit himself, and limit himself more and more and more, until you can hardly even know that he's the divine anymore, because matter is so tamasic. There is no force in matter until life comes into it. So this tamasic state of ignorance, Sri Aurobindo talks to us that men have not yet learned to recognize the inconscient, on which the whole material world they see is built. So everything we see is inconscient. And how does consciousness get into matter? That's what we're going to see all through Savitri. So we will continue with the line, a throw that came and left a quivering trace. What is a throw? Anyone? T-H-R-O-E. No, that's T-H-R-O-W. A throw is a pang or a spasm, as in the pain of childbirth when the woman is going through a throw. A throw that came and left a quivering trace gave room for an old, tired want unfilled. At peace in its subconscient moonless cave, to raise its head and look for absent light, straining closed eyes of vanished memory, like one who searches for a bygone self and only meets the corpse of his desire. Very, very, very profound, and very beautiful also. So special. So what do we think this old, tired want may be? Well, Mother talks about the earth being destroyed 6 times. 6 times the earth has been destroyed. Wow. But because of the supramental that Sri Aurobindo and Mother brought down, Mother says there will not be a 7th pralaya. There will not be nuclear disaster, destruction. There will still be wars because man has to evolve from the animal. And there are still mostly animal beings as humans in this world. They hate, they covet, they want to be better than anyone else, they want to have a name, they want to have money. So there is still that animal nature that is very prevalent in the world. So, what is this old, tired want? Well, it's the earth. And the earth is a conscious being. Sri Aurobindo writes a letter to Dilip Kumar Roy, who wrote 5,000 letters to Sri Aurobindo, and he answered all of them. You cannot believe what the divine has had to do in this life. And then this Dilip Kumar Roy, who was such a great singer, that when he sang, Krishna would appear before Mother. But he left. He found a partner and he started his own ashram. Sri Aurobindo writes to him at one point, I have loved you as a friend and a brother. Imagine the Lord saying that to us. I have loved you as a friend and a brother. But one more anecdote and we'll go back to Savitri because these are important things. At one point, Dilip says to Sri Aurobindo, he writes to him and he says, I can give myself to Krishna. I'm not able to give myself to you. And Sri Aurobindo simply replies, if you can give yourself to Krishna, you can give yourself to me. Wow. So we are seeing now that this old tired want unfilled, that's at peace, of course, in this subconscious moonless cave. Everything is still darkness. It raises its head and it looks for absent light. It strains closed eyes of a vanished memory. And then Sri Aurobindo gives us this beautiful symbol, like one who searches for a bygone self, a lost self, and only meets the corpse of his desire. Because when we look back on the past, we don't see that person, we don't experience that marvel of beauty and everything, but it's in our mind now, and it has a place in our mind, no doubt. But usually it's just the corpse of our desire, a kind of looking back at a dead past. It was as though, even in this naught's profound. Now, interesting thing here about naught. Sri Aurobindo usually uses N-A-U-G-H-T. And here we see for the first time N-O-U-G-H-T. They're the same, just a different spelling. Now, it was, and we see so often how Sri Aurobindo leads us so carefully. He will say, as if, about something. And here he says, it was as though. He's giving us this very, very slowly, because every word in Savitri is sacred. Sri Aurobindo didn't search for the word and or the word the. It came down to him exactly where it should be and when it should be. Even in this ultimate dissolution's core, at the center of this dissolution, this core of dissolution, what was there? There lurked an unremembering entity, survivor of a slain and buried past. Now we're seeing here how Mother's talking about these previous incarnations and creations of the earth. It seems that Lemuria and Atlantis were far more developed technologically than we are today. Far more. Spaceships, everything they knew. But when the vital catches hold of humanity, it can sink down very quickly. And this is what happened to these existences. We even see the Incas on the top of the mountain. They have airstrips that even we can't understand how they were made today. So that's a third incarnation of the earth. So even in this ultimate dissolution's core, there lurked an unremembering entity, survivor of a slain and buried past, condemned to resume the effort and the pang, reviving in another frustrate world. Yes, frustrate world, because it's gone through this before and it found out how all those other worlds were frustrate. But what is it? Now, this is so important. An unshaped consciousness, desired light. It's not shaped yet. It's not formulated consciousness. It's just some kind of vague, unshaped consciousness, but it wants the light. Now, and a blank prescience yearned towards distant change. So remember, everything is all black right now. There's a zero occupying the world. There's nothing at all. And yet we find an unshaped consciousness that is desiring light. And a blank prescience. What is a prescience? Can someone tell me? Prescience?
Foreknowledge, something like that.
Foreknowledge.
Foreknowledge. Correct. It's foreknowledge. This prescience yearned towards distant change. And now this marvelous, marvelous symbol that Sri Aurobindo gives us. As if a childlike finger laid on a cheek, reminded of the endless need in things, the heedless mother of the universe. An infant longing clutched the somber vast. I don't know why people have such a hard time understanding this. It's so easy. You have this image that Sri Aurobindo gives us of a childlike finger laid on the cheek of its mother. And it reminds the mother of the endless need in things. The heedless mother, because the heedless mother here is Prakriti, the creatrix of all the worlds and all the universes. What does it remind her of? Well, it's a longing, an infant longing. So he combines the word infant with childlike, and combines that with mother, and combines that with the heedless mother, and then the endless need in things, just as if infant, a childlike finger would place his child would place his finger on a cheek, reminding this mother of the endless need in things. And she's a heedless mother of the universe. She's not conscious yet. An infant longing clutched the somber vast. Wow, clutched. Again, the child idea, clutching the mother. Huh? And it's an infant longing. It's not a grown-up longing. It's not a mature longing. It's an infant longing that clutches the somber. Oh, somber vast, dark. Now he has a full stop. And the word vast is capitalized also. So remember we talked last week about the importance of capitalization in Savitri. Because when Sri Aurobindo capitalizes something, he is telling us that this is the ultimate of a word. We can have many sub-definitions of a word, but when he tells us capital vast, it's this vast. It's not something that's just vast and spread out. No, no, no. It is a vast that is beyond speech. What happens? Insensibly. Insensible is unaware or unconscious, not even endowed with feeling or sensation, like matter, which is inanimate. So, insensibly somewhere, a breach began. What is a breach here?
Break. An opening.
A break. A what?
An opening.
An opening, yes, yes. A cleft or a break. And what happens here? Oh, this is so beautiful. Look at the alliteration here in this next line. Long, lone, line, hesitating hue. A long, lone line of hesitating hue. Like a vague smile tempting a desert heart. Now, a desert heart is a heart that's dry. A desert heart. So this smile is tempting a desert heart. But what does it do? Troubled the far rim of life's obscure sleep. So we now know that life is existent there. We see that arrived from the other side of boundlessness, an eye of deity peered through the dumb deeps. What is this eye of deity? And where did it come from? It arrived from the other side of boundlessness. Here is Sri Aurobindo with his innumerable paradoxes. How can you have an other side of boundlessness? It's something, you see, but
No limit. Can be
yeah,
any
yes, and Sri Aurobindo does this all the time because he wants to bring us to a higher realm of consciousness where we can see that there's another side to boundlessness. We can't see that with our present minds, but we have to appreciate it and be so grateful. Arrived from the other side of boundlessness, an eye of deity peered through the dumb deeps. And then there's a semicolon. And we always have to be aware of punctuation in Savitri. It's so critical. So what is this being, this eye of deity? It's a scout. It's looking. A scout in a reconnaissance from the sun. Oh, last week I told you about Virat. Remember Virat, who lights his campfires in the suns? And Hiranyagarbha, who builds these worlds in dreams? Okay, a scout in a reconnaissance from the sun, comma. It seemed amid a heavy cosmic rest, the torpor of a sick and weary world, to seek for a spirit, soul and desolate, too fallen to recollect forgotten bliss. Okay, we have to go through that carefully. So, this scout, obviously an aspect of the divine, who looks through from the sun to the earth. We are speaking here about the earth, the creation of the earth. But it seems amid a heavy cosmic rest. Well, yes, the earth seems to be in a cosmic rest. Unmoving, not spinning around, just like that. The torpor of a sick and weary world. Torpor is?
When you wake up in the morning, you're sort of like not fully there.
Okay.
Kind of a hazy sensation.
Well, it's a state of lethargy, exactly. It is an inactive state. We often have the hibernating animals, the bear for 6 months in the cave. So it could be mental or it can be physical inactivity or insensibility. So it seems to this scout about this torpor of a sick and weary world. What is he doing? He's seeking for a spirit. Soul here means alone, soul and desolate, too fallen to recollect forgotten bliss. Well, I guess when the world is in total darkness, we can't recollect anything, especially forgotten bliss. But he intervenes. Intervening in a mindless universe. Mind is not activated yet. There's no mind yet. Its message crept through the reluctant hush, calling the adventure of consciousness and joy. That's a line we should all remember, because this adventure that we are on is not merely an adventure of consciousness. It is not merely a battle. It is a battle, there's no doubt, but it's also an adventure of joy. Well, I got through a page today in 25 minutes. That's a record. Okay. Now we're going to go to page 3. Wow. And conquering nature's disillusioned breast, compelled renewed consent to see and feel. Whoa. So he has that power to conquer this disillusioned breast of nature and compel her renewed consent to see and feel. So we are seeing now in this darkness, in this vast blackness, that a scout comes down from the suns, looking around, seeing if there's any life. There's no life yet. No, there's no mind yet. But there's nature, because nature is the creatrix. And what we cannot understand in the West, especially in religion, is that nature at every moment is destroying and creating simultaneously. And so the divine also is creating and destroying at every moment. The divine uses Prakriti as his creatrix, but he stands behind everything, supporting everything, even giving his sanction to everything. But it's nature who is still unconscious totally. Nature only becomes conscious when Mother tells us in the early 1970s that she met with nature. And she said to nature, I would like you to work with me. And nature said, not interested, Mother. I'm paraphrasing. But why is she not interested? Well, she says, I can take 1,000,000 years to create this new thing, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. Why should I work with you to advance this thing? And Mother says, if you work with me, you will become so much more beautiful and so much more powerful. And nature agrees. The first time nature ever agreed. Physical nature. So we are seeing now on this earth so much beauty that has never been here before. We are seeing flowers that we never would have imagined they could exist. My first wife was born in Mississippi, the home of bigotry and, well, I won't say more. But her father said to me one day about segregation, have you ever seen a blackbird and a redbird cross? My God, that was such a blow to me to hear that. Sri Aurobindo tells us just the opposite. He says now the merging of different races is very, very important for the future of humanity. So back to Savitri. So nature has compelled renewed consent. Renewed. So it was there at one time, and now it's again renewed. But to what? To see and feel. Now, the next lines are very important. A thought was sown in the unsounded void. Was sown, sounded, alliteration. Always we can find these beautiful symbols, alliteration, and the mantric iambic pentameter. So what is an iamb? It's a beat. It's a beat in poetry. And it is short, long. Short, long. A thought was sown in the unsounded void. Da-da, da-da, da-da. Short, long. Iambic and pentameter, 5 beats in a measure. All the great epics have been written in iambic pentameter. It's the most powerful meter in all of poetry. Why?
Rhythmic purpose?
Hmm?
For rhythmic purpose? Rhythmic purpose?
For rhythmic purpose? Yes, absolutely correct. It's the best rhythm of all. It also carries something deeper. Sri Aurobindo talks about it in the Future Poetry, and he says it is able to hold the overhead force. He has a long, long passage on overhead poetry. Difficult passage, but very beautiful. There's a new book out now, part of the set, I believe, that they issued independently. Letters on Poetry and Art. Wonderful, wonderful compilation. So, what is happening now? A thought was sown in the unsounded void. Capital V, void. Sri Aurobindo says in The Life Divine, our conception of a void or zero is only a conceptual sign of our mental inability to know or grasp it. It bears in itself some ineffable essentiality of all that is and all that can be. And since it holds in itself this essentiality and this possibility, it must hold in itself in some way of its absoluteness, either the permanent truth or the inherent, even if latent, realizable actuality of all that is fundamental to our or the world's existence. I know that's a bit complex, but what he is saying here is so important, that this void is not an emptiness at all. It is filled with something that we can't comprehend as yet. One day we will. The void is the condition of the self, free, wide, and silent. It seems void to the mind, but in reality it is simply a state of pure existence and consciousness, sat and chit with shanti. Wow. That's from his letters on yoga. A sense was born within the darkness depths. Comma, you would think it should be a full stop. Not at all. A memory quivered in the heart of time. And if I read things to you on time, we would go for the next half hour. So we'll pick up time another day. But let's say one little line in the Life Divine. Time is a manifestation of the eternal. It's a line in Savitri. Timeless, in the timeless, in time ever born. Wow. So, what is happening here? Well, a sense was born within the darkness depths. A memory quivered in the heart of time, as if a soul long dead were moved to live. And then we have the negativity coming back in. But the oblivion that succeeds the fall from above, the attempt to bring light into the darkness, this oblivion is a total forgetfulness, or something totally disregarded or forgotten, had blotted the crowded tablets of the past. Interesting line, because you remember in Christianity that I guess it was Moses who brought down the from the mountain, and there were 10 commandments. Very good. So now we see that this oblivion that comes after the fall. So the fall came, this fall came down, but the oblivion blotted all these crowded tablets of the past, and all that was destroyed must be rebuilt. Wow. And old experience labored out once more. See? Yeah. Now, I don't know if I told you last week, but the ancient Vedic rishis said it would take 1 lakh of lives to become a human. So in Savitri there's the line, and in the worm foresees the coming God. So the worm has to evolve through stages. And in India you have the 10 avatars. Can you tell me them, please? Beginning with the fish.
Macha, Kurma, Varaha, Macha, Kurma, Varaha,
Fish, turtle, pig, boar.
The boar, exactly. Number 3, the boar.
Narasimha,
Vamana,
half human, half man, half animal.
Half man, half animal. Yes.
Vamana is
Daft one. 5th one is Daft. Vamana.
Vamana, yes. After
And
Vamana,
6th, Parashuram, warrior.
warrior.
Yeah. 7th is
Because men had to fight,
yeah.
kill animals for their food. You see how it evolved, how beautiful this evolution is stated in the Indian mythology.
Yes.
Maybe next week.
Balarama.
Go on, tell.
No, she's saying Balarama, I'm resonating with that. I'm not very good at remembering the sequence.
Yeah.
Ah.
Balarama, Sri Rama, Krishna, and finally Kalki.
Kalki. And Kalki is said by many of the sadhaks of Sri Aurobindo that Kalki is really Sri Aurobindo, the last avatar. But a dual avatar, because Mother came with him to make it perfect. Right. Without Mother, well, what does she say? She says, without him, I exist not. Without me, he is unmanifest. Without him, I exist not. The Divine Mother would not exist without the avatar. Without me, he is unmanifest. He would stay in that world of transcendence and not come down. So, we're going to go for a few more minutes, okay? Is that all right?
Yes.
45 minutes? Okay.
Yes, please.
But the oblivion that succeeds the fall had blotted the crowded tablets of the past, and all that was destroyed must be rebuilt, and old experience labored out once more. And then this line that everyone should remember, all can be done if the God touch is there. And then what does he say? A hope stole in that hardly dared to be, amid the night's forlorn indifference. Forlorn is a strong word. It's sad, lonely, because deserted or abandoned. If someone is forlorn, they are forsaken. Amid the night's forlorn indifference. So I'll go a little bit more. As if solicited in an alien world. Well, we know what solicited is. Solicited means?
Ask for charity.
To petition someone. To ask someone for something. To do or if something is urged or asked, I would say earnestly or persistently, as if solicited in an alien world, with timid and hazardous instinctive grace. What a line! With timid and hazardous instinctive grace, orphaned and driven out to seek a home, an errant marvel with no place to live, into a far-off nook of heaven, there came a slow, miraculous gesture's dim appeal. It's coming down from heaven now. The persistent thrill of a transfiguring touch persuaded the inert black quietude, and beauty and wonder disturbed the fields of God. Who is this errant marvel? We don't know as yet. But this miraculous gesture's dim appeal, it's appealing for light, appealing for something. And then there's a persistent thrill of a transfiguring touch that persuades this inert black quietude. And persuading it, what happens? Beauty and wonder disturbed the fields of God. So, I will, yes.
Can you brief more on this? Beauty and wonder disturb the fields of God.
Yes. Mother speaks to us so profoundly about beauty. She says, let beauty be in everything, all of your thoughts, all of your actions, and let nothing come out of your hands that is not touched with pure beauty. See the artist in us, the musician in us, the painter in us, the architect in us, the writer in us, the poet in us. All beauty. That's what we have to aspire for. So I'm going to now read, where are we here? Okay. From the last page into the end. I just have time. Insensibly, somewhere, a breach began, a long, lone line of hesitating hue, like a vague smile tempting a desert heart, troubled the far rim of life's obscure sleep. Arrived from the other side of boundlessness, an eye of deity peered through the dumb deeps, a scout in a reconnaissance from the sun. It seemed amid a heavy cosmic rest, the torpor of a sick and weary world, to seek for a spirit, soul and desolate, too fallen to recollect forgotten bliss. Intervening in a mindless universe, its message crept through the reluctant hush, calling the adventure of consciousness and joy, and conquering nature's disillusioned breast, compelled renewed consent to see and feel. I have to go to the next page, sorry. And conquering nature's disillusioned breast, compelled renewed consent to see and feel. A thought was sown in the unsounded void. A sense was born within the darkness depths. A memory quivered in the heart of time, as if a soul long dead were moved to live. But the oblivion that succeeds the fall had blotted the crowded tablets of the past, and all that was destroyed must be rebuilt, and old experience labored out once more. All can be done if the God touch is there. A hope stole in that hardly dared to be amid the night's forlorn indifference. As if solicited in an alien world, with timid and hazardous instinctive grace, orphaned and driven out to seek a home, an errant marvel with no place to live, into a far-off nook of heaven there came a slow, miraculous gesture's dim appeal. The persistent thrill of a transfiguring touch persuaded the inert black quietude, and beauty and wonder disturbed the fields of God. Namaste all. I'm happy to see all of you smiling. Savitri is so filled with beauty and wonder. It's also filled with darkness, a lot of darkness. But that comes much later on. Why is it filled with darkness? Because Sri Aurobindo has to bring the light there, or the darkness would be there forever. I'm going to quote a line for you as we end. It's not 100%, maybe 90. Our sense, by its incapacity, has invented darkness. In truth, there is only light. But it is a light either above or below our poor human vision's limited range. Do not think that light comes from the suns. They are only a portion of that which is forever. God is everywhere, and where God is, there is light. Never look at the darkness. Never. Always look towards the light. Yes, it will be a battle. We have so many things to battle even within ourselves. Our own natures are a battlefield. But we must always look towards light. Okay. Thank you.